right, welcome back to Confessions of an Indie Author. This is, I think, my ninth episode. So, I didn't have an episode last week, and that was mainly because I was actually in Columbus at Origins Game Fair. Wednesday was actually the setup day. So, when I normally stream this, I was actually setting up our booth. If you want to see what the finished product looked like, you can go ahead and hey, you can go to my Facebook page and check it out. Sorry, I have Animal Kingdom in here today. Hey, enough. Stop. Out. I didn't realize the cat was in here and it causes problems. Cat and dog do not get along. So anyway, going back to our, our origins recap. For all the work it was, we took two vehicles down there. So we had two vehicles to load in. It was a 6-hour drive. We did manage to cover our booth expense and our hotel expense, but we were unable to recoup our expenses for, let's say, parking, food, and gas. So those are all out-of-pocket expenses, which we weren't able to recover with our sales from Origins. So while it wasn't the greatest, it also wasn't a total and complete loss either. So I don't know. It was not as great as what we had hoped. The traffic in the vendor hall was dismal. We talked to a lot of other vendors who said, this is not Origins. I've been doing this show for years, and this is way too slow. There were a lot of vendors who were questioning whether or not they come back the next year. There was just not enough people to sustain the vendor hall. Now, I hear from a lot of attendees that they enjoyed, having less lines, having to more room to move about the vendor hall, events. It was easier to get into events and whatnot. It was easier to get something to eat because there were less people there. But from a vendor perspective, it just, I don't even know. There's a lot of things going on. I looked up some numbers here. So in 2019, pre-pandemic, the attendance was 20,642. In 2021, it was 10,476. And we don't have the final numbers for 2022, but the rumors are that the estimate is about 11,000, which is still about half of what it was pre-pandemic. Now, Origins has a vaccine requirement, and they required masks. I think they implemented that about 3 weeks prior to the event, which was kind of a surprise. Claiming there's an uptick in COVID cases, which might be the case, but when you search the hotspots on, I think it's the CDC website, the Columbus, Ohio, where the con was a very low community transmission rate. So I'm having a hard time with that. And a lot of people are saying, well, you're bringing people in from different areas who might have been, from hot zones. Well, if you're flying in from a hot zone area, and then you want to complain about people wearing or not wearing masks, I mean, you're putting everybody at risk in doing that. So that's what I'm having a really hard time with some of these issues with the masks and whatnot. So you had to wear it in the convention hall, but the minute that you walked out, so if you walked into a hotel lobby or you went to a restaurant, no place else in Columbus were you required to wear a mask. So you were exposing yourself to COVID there. And then, if you had it, you're bringing it in to Origins because the mask does not, it will not protect you 100%. So you could still bring it in from an outside source, regardless if you're wearing that mask or not. It is not 100%. It's just like the vaccine is not 100%. You're still going to get it. You're still going to transmit it. That's just us. And at some point, we're going to have to move on from this. And I know everybody's going to get really upset. And you know what? You can hate me all you want. But at some point, we have to move forward with our lives, and we just can't live in fear. And I get that there are some people that are at higher risk. And, those people should wear masks and protect themselves, and that's fine. I know everybody wants everybody to get the vaccine, and there's a vaccine requirement, and we had to show our vaccine card, and we had to get a wristband in order to get our badge, and we had to keep the wristband on all weekend to prove that we were vaccinated. I got vaccinated. It was important for me to do that for myself and my loved ones. It will reduce, the severity of COVID if and should I get it. And most of everybody there had the vaccine. It doesn't mean you're not going to get it. Just means maybe the case will be mild. And that's maybe. People with vaccines still end up in the ICU. So I don't know. I wish that maybe, I really do think these requirements affected the attendance. And I know some people will say, well, I chose to go because of the mask mandate and the vaccine requirement. Well, obviously there's half of the people who didn't. So you're catering to only one half of your demographic. And I really get that one half of the demographic hates the other half of the demographic. I really don't care. I'm a vendor that's there to make money. That's why I came there, to get exposure and to make money. And there was not the opportunity there to do that. Now, some of the bigger organizations, they can afford to take a loss at these events. But the small guy, so the big guy, maybe they're not paying out shareholders, okay? Because they're a really big company. And there were a lot of big ones missing. Let's see, I wrote down some of the ones that were missing. I'll write them down. Oh, Paizo wasn't there. Steve Jackson Games. There was rumors, I think, that Upper Deck pulled out. And I've also seen where somebody said that Catalyst wasn't sure if they were coming back. So there goes your Battletech and there goes your Shadowrun. So, what's left? Well, a lot of what's left in the vendor hall, and some people like to go and shop at the smaller, unique spots, or the people who are trying to have a game startup. Well, you're talking about startups, and you're talking about very small businesses, or smaller businesses than your big names. So, and a lot of people they can get those big names at their local game store, but they come for the littler stuff, and that's fine. But there just wasn't as many people there to be able to do that. The smaller places, they're not paying shareholders. They're trying to pay their mortgage. They're trying to put their kid through college. They're trying to put food on the table, for Christ's sake. Whenever you go back and you look at it, so there were no shows in 2020. So those small vendors made zero money. They didn't make anything in 2020. I struggled to make anything in 2020. We couldn't get shows. We had to switch to doing outdoor shows. And while me and my business partner have a 9-to-5 job, so we didn't suffer nearly as much as some of these people that this is their livelihood. This is what they do for a living. And then in 2021, they made half of their income. Well, they're already in the hole from 2020. Now they're taking a loss in 2021. And now you're in 2022, and it isn't any better. So what you're going to see, and what we've heard from other vendors, is that they're pulling out. The vendor hall shrunk significantly this year. And if it wasn't for the JDEX that they had there, Origins wouldn't have very many vendors at all. And so you have to question the viability of this going forward, whether or not they can sustain it. And I think the answer is no, because we're seriously keeping an eye on 2023. Now, we signed up for a booth in 2023 because we are hoping that this year is a fluke, and we're hoping that some of these restrictions will kind of lift and people will feel more comfortable with coming back to a convention space. But that's not a guarantee. The thing that kind of chapped my ass was that Origins raised the booth price. So you're telling me, and I think somebody did the calculations, I haven't done them because I got a discounted booth for the first year that we were there. So for those of you who are thinking about doing Origins for the first time, they do have an exhibitor booth or an entrepreneur booth that you can have a discounted booth for the first year that you're there. But then the next year you have to pay the full booth price. I don't know what the prices were. I can't remember what the full prices were last year for the booths. If you purchased them on site, because if you purchase them there, you renew like right away and you don't wait, they do give you a little bit of a discount. But the numbers that I was seeing was they raised the booth prices by 50%, but the attendance went down by 50% from pre-COVID to now. So it kind of feels like Origins is gouging their vendors, charging their vendors more to make up for the lack of badge sales because people just aren't coming. The attendance is down. That's kind of what it feels like. And unfortunately, it's like this double-edged sword. There aren't people for the vendors to be able to recoup their funds. So we've already seen a lot of vendors pull out. We might see more pull out for next year. I'll be watching very, very closely. If I'm thinking if Catalyst Games pulls out of Origins for 2023, I'm out as well, because there's no sense in doing it. So, I mean, it was hard, and we had a 20 by 20 space, because if you're getting the discounted space, you only get that 10 by 10 space. If we can spread out a little bit more, which we got the bigger booth space, we learned a lot being there. So I think that the next year, if we do go next year, I think we can make some changes and increase sales. I don't know how at a game convention where I have 2 games for sale and I sold 0 games. So that kind of blows my mind. But I guess, there's a lot of other competition there too, because it is a game convention, and I get that. But I can do a better job of, if we had more space to demo some of the games in the booth. I also didn't run my TTRPG. And that was just mainly a decision that I had thought about it, but I decided I didn't want to overbook myself because I really didn't know what the show was going to be like. And I wanted to go for the first time and determine how much downtime I had in my schedule, and how much I was willing to, I guess, hit the ground running and do 800 things at one time. But I'm kind of used to that, but we'll see what I do next year. I think we're probably going to do some writing seminars as well, which will hopefully give us more exposure and drive more, foot traffic to that vendor hall. But that's just if things don't start turning around, I'm probably going to pull from that. I don't plan on doing it. So I guess, not a complete loss. Walking around the convention always gets the creative juices flowing. And while I didn't get any additional book ideas, I did talk to some authors, and we kind of talked shop for a little bit out in the author's alcove that they had there. But I did come up with another game idea, because I need to focus on my writing. So why not get sidetracked with a game? So I'm kind of working on that. It'll be in the Titan Home, which is my TTRPG, for 5th edition. So it'll be a 5th edition based board game. So we'll see how that goes. I've kind of got the design, and I'm starting to actually work on designing with the art and the cards and getting everything put together for that. So it wasn't a complete loss. There were some pluses there, but there's a lot of questions that remain unanswered, and I don't know. I want to be optimistic about it, but at the same time, I'm a little bit pessimistic. And like I said, that might rub people the wrong way, but from a business standpoint, most of these places, people are going back to the office. Places are open. There's no more mask mandates I don't think any state has a mask mandate still. There's no federal mandate. The TSA is not requiring them. I think we're just going to have to slowly but surely kind of wean away from that. And I know COVID's not going anywhere. It's just going to be here. So we're just going to have to deal with it. And it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And people have to make a living. People have to be able to put food on the table. And we can't just hide in our houses. I'm sorry, but I don't plan on doing that. If I get sick, I get sick. If I die, I die. What am I going to do? That was my time to go. I don't know what to tell you. it all kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So those are just my 2 cents on it. I will be getting together with my business partner, Trevor, and we'll probably do a Whiskey Confidential where we'll dig in a little bit deeper on some of our experiences that we had there. But until next time.